Has Ancestry's card catalog left you confounded and confused? Well, follow me today and I'm going to take you on a walkthrough how to unlock this most crucial feature that most people don't bother to fully understand. So I'm going to show you how to really make the most out of this valuable area of Ancestry.com. So before we begin, just want to thank you for being here. My name is Franklin. This is the Family History Foundation. Thanks for tuning into the Family History Foundation channel. Head on over to familyhistoryfoundation.com for more articles, all tons and tons of free stuff. And of course, like and subscribe while you're here. This is the Family History Foundation, where we want to make family history a household word. So, okay, thanks for that. And again, let's kind of take you over to our tree here. We're going to give you a little walkthrough of the card catalog. So on your home page, of course, you have all the exciting stuff to get you going, get you juiced up for your research. And of course, you have DNA trees, your search, your memories, right? This is kind of a neat feature. Now in memories, if you click through here, it kind of aggregates all of your images, all of the images and anything that you've attached to any ancestor. It's aggregated all in one place now, which is kind of neat. And it's styled memories because now you can actually put these into folders and you can, correlate them to different events or times. And so it's kind of a neat feature you may want to just explore on your own. Maybe in the future we'll do a walkthrough of this as well. Drop a comment below if you would want me to do that. I'll definitely have a run through that for you. It's kind of a neat tool if you want to sort of visualize things, right? Of course, we did DNA walkthroughs through your results summary, origins, matches. We went through lines, right? We did the compare tool and all of these features here. But what we're going to focus on today is the search feature, the almighty search feature here on Ancestry. Now, given this drop-down menu, if you are an Ancestry expert, you fully know each of these intimately. If you're new to Ancestry and maybe this might seem overwhelming to you, it certainly was when I started. And Ancestry was much different in the years when I began using it. So you have all collections here. This is the beginning part. Like, this is where you get everything aggregated in one place in your search, right? Which includes these subcategories below it, right? So censuses, voter lists, birth, BMD, right? Military, immigration and travel, public member trees, card catalogs, and more, right? So if you search all collections, you're going to get the whole array of everything, okay? And the search function, as far as the fields you get to choose from and play with, are much different. But what we're searching on today is the card catalog, okay? So we're going to just take a quick peek, here we go, at the card catalog. And this is what we want to do. This is, to me, is the most underutilized place on Ancestry.com. Why? Because it's overwhelming and confusing. Okay. As someone who's been researching a long time, I sort of, it took me a while to get used to the card catalog. Okay. Because really, why it's off-putting for most people is that you only have two things to search, which is an either or you can use it in combination. But oftentimes what you write in title and you write something else in keyword, it can cancel each other out in the returns list here that you're going to get. Okay. So, but the power in the card catalog comes in the amount of records you get and how you can filter those records. Okay. But before we get into the card catalog, let's go over and look at the general search function, the all collections, just as a comparison. So quickly note something, okay? When you're looking at this interface, note very quickly that the search boxes here, there's only two of them, okay? But the returns here are actually not records, right? They're batches of records that you have to go and individually search through, right? So it's not returns directly related to your ancestor. These are records, record collections here, right? That all of these are individual record collections. So it's telling you your clue, the fact or the person or the will or the deed that you're looking for. Here, it's not directly the will. This is where, okay, Yeah, got it. Okay. So it's more laborious, right? Because when you click on this, you actually have to search through these record collections to find stuff. So I think for a lot of people, it's just like, well, I don't want to do that. But let me tell you, this is where you're really going to make headway in your search. Okay. So by comparison, let's go over to all collections real quick. Okay. Now, look at how this is set up. It's quite different. Okay. In fact, the search parameters here, the amount of search boxes you get and the information that you can enter into them is quite specific. Okay. You can enter first, middle, and last, place, birth year, every sort of thing you can think of to fine tune your search. However, this often works against us because sometimes we input too much information and then we don't get what we want when the search shows up here. Okay. And oftentimes the search results come back, disaggregated, and you get a lot of stuff, get a lot of noise, right? You don't actually get the records that you're looking for, because if you're searching for John Smith, right, you're going to get so many John Smiths back, and just all these sort of records that are uncorroborated, unsubstantiated, and you get analysis paralysis and you burn out, right? Let's just search John Smith, right, and see what happens, right? It'll suggest family trees that you have, but no suggestions found. I don't have any John Smiths. Smith is not a big name in my genealogy, but you can search. If you go through a tree that it suggests, you can click on an Ancestry and it'll pre-fill this stuff. But really, what you're going to get is just a lot of stuff. Too broad. See, it's too broad. Yeah. I don't know. Let's just write Virginia. And if you're in the Virginia colony, you might have look at this. I don't know. Let's just see. Search. Okay. Well, look at that. What did we even get back? Nothing. Here we go. Okay. We got all of this stuff. Okay. We got ancestry trees. And this is just a suggestion. I'm not related to this guy, most likely. Yeah. But then look at this. It's just going to give you all of these record returns, right? 3,142,000. How do you make sense of that, right? And the problem is, not only that, it's all in one big list. So what you're getting are individual returns of records, okay? And of course, you can filter it by, all of these subcategories here. However, it's a lot of searching around. Right? Now, when you're getting more specific in your research, when you're actually diving deep to try to find a will, right, sometimes the card catalog is your best friend. Now, on the surface of it, you might be thinking, well, this is giving me individual records. Isn't this better because it's automatically giving me usable information? But not necessarily so, because again, there's so much noise going on in here that it's often not very viable. So let's go on over to the catalog and let's see what we can drum up here. Okay, so now if you're noticing all of these records here, right, you might be noticed, oh, there's stuff from France, there's stuff from Yorkshire, England, stuff from New Hampshire. Okay, like does that even play into your records? Now, depending on your ancestry subscription level, you're going to get different things. If you have the US subscription, you're not going to see world, things from across the world. If you're on the international subscription, whatever it's called, sorry, you have access to all of these things here. Okay, so like mine, I have the world plus whatever it is. So we want to just say, okay, let's look for wills. Okay, so again, if you want to look for deeds or wills, this is kind of the place to go, because you can get very specific in researching time periods. And this is very, very important. If you're going back to an ancestor who lived in, say, 1830, and you know that bit of information that you're missing is on a will or a deed, you can actually go through and search individual records. Now, this is important because the methodology here is very, very specific. If you just go through the collections, it may not find things. In fact, I've noticed over time that when I've used all collections, it's just given me back so many inaccurate records. And oftentimes, when there's been limited returns on a very specific search request, it has not shown me a record that I already know existed. And this is how I've tested the system. Whereas I've gone to family search and searched for a will for a specific ancestor and it shows up. I've taken that same search query, put it directly into all collections, and it doesn't show up. That tells you that the algorithm, the way their search parameters are written, it may not tell you things. So you may be in there fishing around in all collections when there's actually a record there. But when I've used the card catalog, I've always found that same record. So this is something should be sort of revelatory for you. Okay. Now the methodology here, the sourcehound methodology, if you will, is really to use both. You don't want to exclude one only over the other. Okay. You want to use all of these different things. And again, you can search individually through each of these, which I also would recommend. Okay. But the card catalog also has filters, just like the general search. So maybe let's search for deeds, and we'll type in deeds, okay, and let's search. You can hit search or just hit return, and this is what you're going to get. So let's look at record count here, okay. Now you can search things, right, through collection title, date updated, and relevance. Okay, relevance is this Ancestry is going to determine what's relevant to you, probably based on your past researches, right? So on relevance, I'm sure I'd get a lot of stuff from, say, Virginia, from England, where my research comes, and you would get different records and different returns, okay? So again, you are searching a listing of all record collections, okay? So Fairfax, Virginia, right? Tasmania, Australia. Now, if you're searching for a deed of an ancestor who lived in Ohio or Oregon or Missouri or Virginia, then you want to exclude a lot of these other records, okay? And using the records count is kind of a nice indicator sometimes, because it's like you're gonna have a lot of records, so you maybe want to search, things that have a lot of records, right? And that's plus or minus, because it could take a lot of time, okay? So relevance is cool. Collection title is going to give you things, in alphabetical order. Now, when you search for deeds, when you search for title, okay, this is a thing that throws a lot of people off. When you're searching for title, you're basically looking for things that have that specific word or similar things in the title of the record collection itself, okay? And so if you scroll over these things just as sort of a pre-search, maybe my ancestor was in North Carolina. If you just hover over this, it'll tell you what the record is. Now pay attention to these things because they're very important, right? It's extraction of the these county in North Carolina cross-index to deeds and grantees. And this is the date range, okay? And it's volume B, which is also interesting because that also means there's a volume A and possibly a volume C. So if you don't have volume A or B listed here, you can use the card catalog to find it. Okay, you can just sort of, hover over this, and you can see if it'll let me just copy this, right? You can scroll and copy and then paste it into keywords or title to find the other indices. Okay. Now, if I include similar terms, right, let's see if this makes a difference in the amount that we're getting back, right? So we have 47 records here being returned for this search. So if we include similar items, does it inflate this? No, it's the same. Okay, that's interesting, okay? But really, I think keywords is more interesting, because keywords, what it does, it returns the keyword that you're looking for within the description of each of these, okay? So let's take out this and let's search for deeds in the keywords. Okay, so now watch. We have 47. We're going to search. Okay, we have 345 now. Okay, so there's a lot more, right? Because just what's in the title often doesn't cover what's in the contents. This is like you're searching for the title. This is like you're searching for the contents. But each of these, right, has a description to it. So if I hover over these Massachusetts town vital records, right, it's the description has a keywords built into there. So it's gonna return based on the description. So that's why you're getting higher returns. And if we include similar items, okay, let's see what happens here to our number. Oh, it's the same. Okay. Yeah. So now what you're going to do, right, if you're on the hunt for something, right, is you're going to want to pick one of these things that is found in one of these titles, right? Like, does this apply to what you're researching? So say we're looking for, again, I'm just going to use Virginia, okay, because it's something relevant to my searches, might be relevant to your searches. Doesn't matter. You can filter things out. So maybe let's just set a scenario and say you're looking for an ancestor born in 1840 who lived in Virginia. Okay, so there would probably be a lot of card catalog specific record collections. So what we can do is just filter through these things. Okay, well, we don't want to filter through all of these, right? Because we want to let these records speak for themselves. We want them to populate this side, right? So we don't want to exclude them just yet, but what we want to do is filter by location for sure. So we have North America and USA, right? And so these may seem similar, but if we click on this, I'm sure it'll say Canada and maybe Virgin Islands or something. Okay, it says Canada, North America, USA. Okay, so we have 308 records. So let's just search by United States. Okay, and now we have a list of all of the states and the amount of records per, right? So this kind of helps us narrow down our research. From 308, we can narrow this down, right? Look at this one, South Carolina, U.S. wills, 1 million records, amazing, right? And we have 13 pages of this. So let's just click on the state we are interested in. Okay, if it's Ohio, click on Ohio. If it's Oregon, Minnesota, whatever it is. So let's look, and it's going to adjust our returns here to 98. Okay, and beginning with record count, we can look through these. Okay, or relevance. And so we can also look through the list of counties, which is kind of neat too, right? Was your ancestor in 1840 in the eastern side by the northern neck, out by the bay, or were they on the interior, maybe by like Halifax County, or all the way over by the Tennessee border, maybe, right? So we want to we can be specific if we want. But we don't know, maybe they moved. Let's leave that broad for now, because look at the amount of records per county. If you absolutely know it's in a certain county, use that feature. But right now, given these, amount of records, like 1, 2, 3s, I wouldn't click on anything else. Let this tell you. Now you can also drill down by orders of 110. Okay, this is kind of how I look at it, right? You can filter by century and by decade, right? 16, 17, 18, 19s. And you click on this row, it'll give you all of this, or you can click on by the century, right? So you can get a magnitude of 100 and a magnitude of 10. So we can do 1840s, right? If I know he's born or that person's born, but I just like to start here. Like, why not just start and let it filter out all of the 19th century here? Okay, so that returns our records, right? We still have a lot of hits. So now we might just want to search general. We might want to search Sons of the American Revolution membership applications. That's a cool one. If you can get your family linked or make an application to the SAR, the DAR, that is super cool. I, at some point, should make my application. I know I do have ancestors who descend from sons or daughters of the American Revolution, so that'd be a kind of nice, cool thing to do one day. But so if you just do this, right, again, you're going to end up being confronted with records. Okay, so now let's just see what happens, because now, you're going to actually have to go through each of these collections. Okay, so now you have to enter the name of your ancestor, and you can search this exact records database. Okay, now given the fact that if we go back to the previous page, there were, like 1 million records in here. That's why you place this one set of records against all of the other sets of records with millions and millions per collection, right? And you only have a return box this big, right? Of course you're going to get bottlenecked, right? It doesn't make sense sometimes to really do that if you're trying to get into specific things like wills, right? If you're just trying to search the 1860 database or census for something, yeah, go through all collections, but it's still a good idea to just put 1860 census in the card catalog, and then you can search, exactly. And it's kind of it's a power tool, right? It's like, really will up your game. So again, you can use all of these search features, and you can search by description. Like if you're searching, again, we've searched for deeds and wills, so your court, land, wills, and financials. So you can not only do another keyword within there, set an occupation. Be careful with these because it might limit your returns. Maybe if you're not sure. Description, you can add appraiser, bondsman, daughter, descent. Oftentimes these are cool clues, like, if you see a bondsman on a marriage ban, right, in the 1840s, like I have a third great grandfather who has somebody, a familiar name, who was a witness or a bondsman, and I happen to think that person's related in a missing maiden name case that I'm working on. So that's a great clue. I might want to put this in here as a bondsman, put that person's name in here, and maybe just search for instances of that person. Maybe that person was a bondsman on another family member, and you can start to create and triangulate. Maybe that family is related after all, but you have to hunt these things down, right? Grantee, grantor, heir, so on and so forth. But also remember to sort of make sure that every time you update your search or you search for something new, deselect these things, make sure that they're cleared, because they will follow you into the next search, and you may think you're getting no returns or limited returns, when in fact this thing still says bondsman, but you're not looking for bonds people on future records. So always be aware of that. So make sure you clear these things as you do a new search. Also, another sort of top tip is to sort of understand these related collections, okay? Because we're searching for these probate records between this date range in this state, okay? But there's also the general wills and probates, compiled marriages in this date range, and so on and so forth, which would also be, if we go back to the main search, right? It would also appear there as well, okay? But it's just trying to help you search out more. And my other top tip is that if you sort of maybe are interested in what comes up here but not finding something, but it's like, okay, let's also search this. My suggestion is not to just click this, okay? Here's why. Because if you click this, it's going to stay in the same window, and then you're going to lose what's here. So I always like to right click, or if you're on a Mac, command click, and it'll open these links in a new tab. Okay, this is very, very important, because then you're and then you have two tabs open, right? So if you're looking for something under the U.S. wills and probates database, but you want to refer back to what you're looking here, then you'll have two tabs open, and you can just click back and forth. Okay, Ancestry should always open these in a new tab. So, but I always do this manually, and I suggest you do it too. My general practice is, like, I have my tree open, and then I have the ancestor's profile on one tab, and then as I'm clicking records, I right click and have it open in a different tab so I can go back and forth. Okay, now before I let you go, we're kind of running out of time here. I am really sort of trying to drill down as quick as I can. There's so much to do and learn within the card catalog. I'm probably going to have to make follow-up videos. Like and subscribe to this channel while you're listening to this. And also, if you have suggestions like, okay, you covered this was good, I want to know more about this, feel free, do not hesitate to drop a comment and say, hey, can you cover just occupational search? Or like, what does it look like when you search for different descriptions within the database, so on and so forth. So if you like those specific tutorials, yeah, let me know, because I'm sure there's, don't hesitate, because I'm sure there's 100 people behind you also with the same question, right? So you will also be, other people will appreciate you asking. Okay, so we're always up here looking because we want the record return that exists here. Once we search for, let's just say, we're going to do John Smith again, right? We're going to search all of this, right? Now, John Smith is a very famous name when it came to early American settlement in the Virginia colony, which is probably why I subconsciously chose John Smith, but Captain John Smith, right? So Again, you can view the records, look at the date range, all of the counties, and you can scroll through these. You have 172 options. You can apply different schematics to it, exact and similar, and the more broad you go, the more false returns you're going to get. The more potential records you're going to get. It doesn't have to be false. I shouldn't say that. But, when you hit this, it's going to expand, of course, right? And you can sort of go through these. But, and these are the exact records you may want to look at, and maybe your person in there. But it's going to take some time. And again, for me, right click or command click on these to open up. You don't want to lose this. And I don't know why Ancestry doesn't do this, and I'm sure one day they'll catch up. When you hit this, it should just open in a different window altogether. Okay, so let's go back so I can finish up my last point real quickly. So again, these are the records and the search area, right? The search boxes. But don't forget, don't forget to read this, the source information. People think, why do I need to read the source information? It's just words. I don't want more words, right? But we have to look at these because looking at where these collections came from is so crucial as a professional researcher, because the original data it tells you where this comes from, right? Who wrote them, the author, when it was published, and you have to know that these are individual collections that people took the time to compile these from their own local records, county records, from courthouses and things like that, from churches and things like that. And they put these together, and Ancestry aggregated them for you. But it'll help you in your research when you want to get very specific, or if you ever have the inkling to go out to a county courthouse or go out to the places where these are from, where these records originate from, and do your own paper trail research. So it's good because you actually go and say, I need to look at this specific one, okay? And even more importantly is the about, okay? Because this is important because it tells you about the record, and it will give you some historical context in your research. This is invaluable and should never be passed over. If you're serious about a record set, always take the time to read this, right? So just take a look at this under marriage records, okay? We're looking at land records and deeds hypothetically here, but look at this, okay? In Virginia, beginning in 1600, okay? Beginning in 1660, a couple could marry by posting a bond with civil authorities or publishing bans at church. Now, this is important because it gives you a time frame. It says a couple could marry by posting a bond, right? Civil authority, like a government authority, courthouse or whatever existed, or publishing bans at a church. Now, this kind of implies that there may be marriages out there, marriage bans, marriage certificates that maybe don't exist, right? A couple could by posting, right? So it goes on to say, in 1853, a state law was put in place requiring counties and independent cities to issue marriage licenses and record marriages performed, okay? So that meant that in 1853, it was a state law. If you got married, you had to have a marriage license, okay? Now this, if you gloss over this, you may think, okay, who cares? Well, this is crucial because this is where you transcend from genealogy to family history, because you have to know the history around the area you're searching, because you may have been looking for this marriage record, this marriage license, but it didn't exist. Maybe it was in 1670 and you thought, well, maybe they weren't married. Maybe that's not my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, right? So on and so forth. But maybe that marriage license or record doesn't exist. It's not to say that they never got married and were sanctioned and are, living in sin type of thing, but it may be that it wasn't processed, or maybe it was lost, or maybe it was with a different church that is no longer in existence, but it wasn't a law in that county at that time. Or find out the family history, the story behind why that marriage license maybe wasn't officiated in that way, or at least documented, not officiated, because they were married, right? And so back in 1660, everybody was rural, everyone was farming, and they were, there were different rules at play historically. But if you are trying to research an ancestor, say in 1855, and you can't find a marriage license, now maybe you have pause to say, well, were they married in that county? Maybe they didn't exist, right? Because it had to have been put in place. So you're operating under a different set of assumptions if you take the time to read this, right? So crucial for your research, because it's going to open up avenues of inquiry. And once you have facts about 1853 and 1660s, for example, and you hit a dead end, you're going to open up a new research question, right? It's going to tell you, okay, so why didn't it exist? Like, were they actually in that county? And there's so many different avenues that it's going to open up, because that may have unlocked for you something that you needed to know. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know you did. And I just want to say thank you. Like and subscribe. This is the Family History Foundation. My name is Franklin, and my mission is to make family history a household word. So keep on watching, and take care. We'll see you in the next one, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.